Here's a quote from the Kenya Tourism Board. It says Jeffrey Wu is an expert photographer in wildlife action shots, specializing in storytelling style approach. Action shot is the most difficult scene to capture, yet you keep pursuing it. Why is that?
I think there's a couple of reasons. We started by shooting, for instance, birds. They are everywhere, species, how it look. And I always trying to photographing the beautiful species. But as we turn into digital era, photography actually the technical threshold is quite low. I mean, lots of shots, the camera does half the job. As we go into the digital era, the shot just to describe the species of the wildlife is actually too common. As a wildlife photographer, I always want my shot standing out of hundreds, thousands of, or if not millions of photographers shot. I want people to remember. I want to wow people. So I always go for the most difficult part, which is hunting, because especially for cheetah hunting, that's the fastest land animal. To acquire that shot, you have to be very confident in terms of knowing your camera and predicting animals' movement, etc. So it's difficult, but that's why I always try to go for the difficult part, because this is the most dramatic and exciting moment for the hunt. And sometimes not just hunt, fighting or chasing. All the action shot to me it excites me. So that's what I always going after. However, I do actually also photographing different genres in photography. For instance, I also photographing the animalscape, which is a landscape, sunset, sunrise with wildlife in their own habitat. I also photographing the black and white fine art photography. So I think because quite a big portion of my photography work is action shot, and because it's very difficult, so and the most people remember my body of work. Usually they remember the action shot. So that's as another reason people knows me as the action shot guy. That's number one. Number two is I always try not just to recording the appearance of the species, but also the behavior, the interaction of the species. I try to use the image to tell the story itself, to tell the animal's behavior itself. So it is true I hardly photograph any portrait of the wildlife. It's always action shot, always interaction, always action, always fighting, chasing, etc. So I think that's why you've done enough of this kind of shots, so people will remember and people will think that's our style.
This is a quote I have from Africa Geographic. Okay, they say Jeffrey Wu is an expert in photographing the cheetah hunt. He has photographed more than 300 cheetah hunting scenarios. Now, why do you like the cheetah hunting and not lions or leopards?
Well, for the hunting, apparently in Africa, most action shot photographers pursuing is hunting shot. I think that's a couple of reasons. Number one, I really love cheetah. It's my favorite animal. Not just my favorite cat, it's my favorite animal. I think it is graceful, and it is not as actually as vicious as a lion. But when they hunt, it's like from planning, stalking, chasing, tackling, like a work of art. Lions and leopard, they are nocturnal. So most of their hunting happen at night. It's very difficult to witness them and therefore photographing them in the daytime. But the cheetah is not nocturnal, so their 90% of the hunt happened in the daytime. I think that's the reason. Also, uh, um, we have more cheetah shots than the lion and leopard shot. I do have lion hunt and leopard hunt images, but not as many as cheetah, of course. Number two is I getting involved in the project of cheetah researching. I think from beginning because I want to be more successful in photographing cheetah hunt. So I approached some of the leading scientists who study and researching cheetah in Mara. For instance, Dr. Elena Shilicheva. Um, I started to learn from her, and also I also sponsored her research project. We have a Elena Shilicheva cheetah research project. So as you get to know those cheetah, you become to seems having some personal emotional attachment to them. So so more I study them, more I learn from them, and more I fall in love with them. So I think that's one of the reasons why cheetah is one of my favorite wildlife. But in general, I just think cheetah hunt is just such a beautiful, beautiful um, scenario. The cheetah hunting success rate is only about 20 to 30%. So you need to spend lots of time. You need to have a lot of patience. But to see the fastest land animal from where they hiding to reach top 100 kilometers per hour in the matter of 2 3 seconds is absolutely spectacular and beautiful to watch. It really excites me. The whole process is really excites me.
I think it also gives a nice dynamic from the stalking and hunting perspective to the actual run. You get two very different shots from one animal.
That's correct. Sometimes you just see how they try to identify the prey, how they try to sneak close to their prey, and how they make evaluation of when to jump out. Because during the cheetah hunt, there's a lot of um, elements can affect the action. Number one, how likely she gonna be hurt. Number two, how sure the cheetah is to get this prey. Three, is there any other animal maybe rob the prey after they hunt? So, but the whole plan from, as I said, from sneak in, getting close, hide and wait, and then stalking, chasing, and then tackling down. Like this is just a beautiful, beautiful design of the nature.
What's the most difficult subject to photograph?
To me, the most difficult task for me is every time I come back to Kenya, I always give me a new target that I must choose something different from the genre or subject I shot before. So I think the persistent looking for the new creative thinking, the new perspective for the wildlife approach um, is one of the reasons keep me going and keep me advancing through the years. I think the most difficult subject for me is try to find a more creative way to surpass what the image I have been photographed before. But I'm always trying every time when I come back to Mara.
And I guess every time you come and you do this, you do end up showing a new way to locals of how to do things too. Your
That's
knowledge
correct.
is shared on.
That's
A
correct.
lot more locals then say, "Oh my God, I want to do this as well."
That's correct.
Yeah.
Actually, right now, more and more, I mean, we were in Mara. Mara is, I think, is the only place in the earth all the professional wildlife photographers will come. So in the high season, you go to Mara, you probably have like 10, 15 cars led by professional wildlife photographers, those photographic tours. So to me, I always try to find some new approach. Sometimes it's a technique part, sometimes it's different perspective.
Hmm.
To create a kind of shot which I never done before is not only satisfies me, it also will help lots of young photographers, emerging photographers, and may I point out lots of Kenyan photographers to think how to make more creative way in terms of wildlife photography and to show them that's no limit how you want to portray the nature world. How do you want to show your viewer your perspective?